This week, civility returned to politics when the vice presidential candidates faced off in a very cordial debate. J.D. Vance opened the show like a true gentleman, saying, quote, "The Democrats are a group of sexual deviants that worship the Dark Lord and sacrifice children in his honor, but Tim Walz is a really swell guy." Walz, who was fighting through a deep blush at the time, responded by saying, "Aw, shucks, I'm just a knucklehead. J.D. Vance is a good family man who loves his country, but Republicans want to chain women up in the basement and drive American democracy into the ground like a kamikaze plane. Also, Donald Trump is big, mean, and scary, and MAGA, 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 MAGA." End quote. The two men hugged and cried as they insisted they really do agree on a lot of things. Not important things like how to run the country or how terrible their political parties are, but both can relate to each other because they both have to defend someone at the top of the ticket who is much less impressive than themselves. I'm Tyler Chrestman. Welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Hello, everybody. I realize we have two topics we're going to get into this week, but I realize at the top of the show I may have said something that's a little misleading. I realize I said that both vice presidential candidates have to deal with someone less impressive than themselves at the top of the ticket. I believe in J.D. Vance's case, this should be obvious why I think that's true, but I want to clarify what I think about Tim Walz. It's not that Tim Walz is impressive. It's just that Kamala Harris set the bar so low, he basically just could walk over it. So it really, they both can relate, but it's a different kind of thing. We are going to talk about two things today. And both the topics, obviously, one of them is going to be the debate. The other one is going to be the strike, the longshoreman strike. And we're going to get into both of those first, though. Oh, my gosh, look at this. What's this? Winnie, can you speak? Why are you always sitting on my lap? Can't you talk to the people? You talk to me all day. Say hi. Nothing? Nope, she doesn't want to. She was sitting there, just a little insider baseball for you here. She was sitting there for like 5 minutes and wouldn't shut the hell up while I was trying to record the intro. She just kept me out, and now that she's sort of settled down, it's all better. But she was just being obnoxious for like 5 minutes before this thing started. All right, anyway, to the debate. Topic number one for the day. I didn't watch it live. I actually had tickets to the Blues game. It's still preseason, but I had some tickets to go watch them play. They played decently. And so I didn't watch it live, so I've watched it since that time, or at least large chunks of it. I kind of fast forward through some of it, but I watched all the most viral moments. I have a couple things to say. First of all, it's a good reminder. Someone who talks about politics, writes about politics, thinks about politics quite a bit, did not schedule my life around the vice presidential debate. I think that everyone in the world should take this as a moment to remember that there is more to life outside of politics. I know we have 32 days when this podcast comes out, 32 days until the election. And so everything seems like it's so important. We got to think about this all day, every day. But go live your life. Enjoy yourself. There are more important things out there. As the youth might say on the internet, go touch grass, okay? Get outside. Don't live your life on the internet worrying about who's going to be president 24/7. It's okay to go to a Blues game or a concert or take your loved ones out to dinner. Do something, okay? I didn't watch this live. I was out there enjoying life. Since then, like I said, I've watched a good bit of it, and certainly all the most viral moments that were going around the I don't know if you can hear her now. She's starting back up. Certainly all the most viral moments that were going around on the internet machine. I have my quick takeaway from the debate is, and one of the reasons I wasn't really pressed to watch, is that for a brief moment, I was able to shake my crystal ball. Do you shake a crystal ball? Magic 8 balls you shake. I think you just wave your hand over a crystal ball, like a fortune teller. I was able to sort of wave my hand over the crystal ball. I knew exactly how this debate was going to turn out because anyone who knows the characters involved can say some very basic things. One is that J.D. Vance is much smarter than Tim Walz. J.D. Vance is a very intelligent person who speaks well and understands the topics. I thought going in that he was going to make Tim Walz look like an idiot because by comparison, Tim Walz is an idiot. He would have done the same to Kamala Harris. He probably would have done worse. She is worse at thinking on her feet than Tim Walz, and he's not especially impressive. So I knew how this debate was going to turn out. I am surprised a little bit by how nice the debate was in tone. I think that was intentional. But I knew that J.D. Vance was going to outmatch almost anyone he meets on the debate stage. He's a very smart, very polished person who has been, as they say now after the debate, he's been getting the reps in. He's been doing interviews. He's been fielding questions. He knows the answers. He's got his stuff down. He has figured it out. So I knew that going in. He would have demolished Kamala Harris. He absolutely destroyed Tim Walz in the debate. I want to take just a couple of the more standout moments of the debate and talk about them. And I think I'm only going to play one clip because this is the one that matters. And this is absolutely my favorite thing. And I want to share it right off the jump so that we understand what we're talking about. Okay, check this out.
Just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn now to the economy. Thank you.
Margaret, the rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check. And since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on. So there's an application called the CBP One app where you can go on as an illegal migrant, apply for asylum or apply for parole, and be granted legal status at the wave of a Kamala Harris open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That is the facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by our own leadership.
Thank you, Senator, for describing the legal process. We have so much to get to, Senator.
So, I don't know. Hold on.
We have so much
at first. But before we click off this and I actually talk about it, look at Tim Walz's face right here. He looks like he's about to explode, or possibly he doesn't look as bad as Joe Biden in this clip right here, but he looks so lost and confused. He's going, oh my God, do I have to respond to this? What's happening? I don't even know. He looks old. He looks old compared to J.D. Vance. I didn't even notice that. I've watched this a couple of times. I've just been focused on this guy up here, J.D. Vance on the top, looking great and sounding intelligent. So that is the first and the only clip from the actual debate that I'm going to play. And there's a reason for that, because this is, I think, the best thing about J.D. Vance. It's that he is not afraid to be confrontational, but he does it in a way right there. It was incredibly polite the way he did it. It was very factful. Dang it, Kat. Get the heck out of here. What is your deal today? Yeah, stop this. Go away. Okay. But he did it in a way that is polite. It is, but forceful at the same time. He used his facts, used real-world data to combat the fake fact check by these really bad, terrible moderators who he says it. He says, well, listen, the rules were you're not going to fact check people. You're fact checking me, so let me fact check you. And this is, he describes the process that the migrants have received temporary status. Again, not through, he's actually 100% correct about this too. It is not through a legal process. It is through executive action from the Biden White House that has allowed this to happen. This is not a legal process. These people are not legal residents of the United States. Basically, Joe Biden just allowed a bunch of people into the country that he said could come in. It is not part of the legal process, so J.D. Vance is 100% correct about this. But the thing that people love about this is the way that he pushes back when somebody tries to confront you with misinformation or fact check you about something you're correct about. You see this all the time in the media, the corporate media. The corporate media will fact check people. The New York Times actually just did this today. They fact-checked, what was it? They fact-checked something that J.D. Vance said that in their own explanation said it is technically correct, but it's misleading. Hold on. So you don't like his interpretation of, it was the Tim Walz abortion claim. He said in the debate that Tim Walz repealed protection for people who were for babies who were born alive after a botched abortion. The New York Times fact-checked him and said that while the bill that Walz repealed actually protected if a baby was born alive, it required facilities to notify the state about that and provide life-saving care to any infant born from a botched abortion. He repealed that law, but they say, but it's misleading because, and they had this whole explanation. But what J.D. Vance said is factually correct. Tim Walz signed a law. He actually repealed a law that protected babies born from a botched abortion. The New York Times tried to fact-check him, but then in their own explanation said that what he said is technically true, but they just don't like his interpretation of what was said. J.D. Vance graduated from Yale Law School. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to the legal process, probably more than some staff writer at the New York Times who knows nothing. The point is, people love this. When you push back on these people, these unimpressive people who are in this position with their smug attitudes and their lack of actual knowledge, they said, well, actually, they're legal. And J.D. Vance says they're only legal because of an executive action by Joe Biden, not based on any law passed by Congress. Congress is the only one who can make immigration law changes. The president shouldn't be able to do that, just magically wave a wand and say, now you're legal. That's not the way it should work. And so J.D. Vance says, you're wrong, and the fact that you are trying to fact-check me breaks the rules that you set, and this is what people used to love about Donald Trump. When he first came in and he would say, the corporate press, the enemy of the people. He was like, people said, oh, it's a threat to democracy. He's threatening the press. He's threatening the press. This is terrible. No, he's not threatening the press. What he's doing is pointing out the fact that the press has been delinquent in their job. Their job used to be holding power to account. That's a great job to have. That's something we should respect and need and want, is people who want to expose the corruption or the graft, whatever the word is you want to use for the political class of people in this country who are elected. That is the job of the media. It is to hold people in power to account. When he says it's the enemy of the people, it's not because they do that job. It's because they don't do that job. It's because they have been derelict in that job, because that they have gone from being a branch of, not government, but a branch of this country that holds government to account to being a branch of the Democratic Party. And when you are now a propagandist, when you're a part of Pravda, instead of trying to dig in, and when you ask Joe Biden, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream, and you ask Donald Trump, why are you such a big, mean, nasty racist, you're not doing your job. You are a bias hack. You're a clown, and you are bad for democracy. Just because you call yourself a journalist, just because you call yourself a member of the press, doesn't mean that that's what you are. A journalist, to me, can be biased. There's nothing wrong with that. But you cannot pretend to be unbiased. When you sit there and you pretend that you're objective, which is just a joke, then I don't have any respect for you. If you want to sit there and you want to write something mean about Donald Trump, that's fine. As long as that's in an opinion column. When you write it in a news column, then I have issues. If you write a piece of news, let's say this, Donald Trump signs a bill that Congress has passed and it becomes a law, and you want to report that as news, what that means is you should report the facts of that as news and try and leave any colorful adjectives out of it. You don't describe Donald Trump's motivations unless they're his words or unless they are a good faith argument for it. Or you do both. You give the good faith argument and then you give the argument against it. You do both, and you try and do both like you are trying to steel man both arguments. So many journalists don't do this, and the moderators at this debate, just by their little insertion there, you say, oh, well, just so you know, all the Haitian migrants are actually legal. Okay, turning to the economy. No. When you insert yourself into the debate, when the corporate press tries to put its foot on the gas and tries to push the Kamala Harris campaign forward with their actions, what people loved about Donald Trump and what they are loving about J.D. Vance from this debate is the fact that he says, get off the gas, hit the brakes, you're wrong. You don't deserve to have a voice. That's against your own rules. I'll call you out on air. You're breaking your own rules here. CBS or whoever the hell they were. And people love that about it. And it appeals to voters. It really does. It appeals to voters when you are knowledgeable and forceful and confrontational in a respectful manner. People like Donald Trump because he's confrontational. Some people are turned off by the fact that he's less than civil about it sometimes. Some people love that, but it also turns people off. When you're J.D. Vance, being confrontational in this way that is polite but forceful is going to appeal to the broadest sense of voters, the broadest appeal to the most voters. And that is very important. You could tell in this whole thing that he was trying to soften that image because when he was picked, I probably said it on this podcast myself, I loved J.D. Vance as a pick because I think J.D. Vance is very smart. I think he's a very intelligent guy. And I think that that's great in politics because it's very rare that you get smart people in politics. And when you get smart people, people tend to not like them. You know who, this is going to drive a lot of people crazy. You know who the smartest person in Congress is, in my opinion? And this is people, you can think all the names you want. The smartest person in Congress, both houses, in my opinion, is Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is incredibly smart. If you ever read his writing, if you ever listen to him speak, if you try and engage with him on a political, philosophical topic, he knows what he's talking about. He's very smart. People hate Ted Cruz. They don't like him. They find him difficult to relate to. And it's part of it is probably because he is so smart. And J.D. Vance, he was always this guy who everyone knew he was smart. He went to Yale. He wrote this best-selling book. He's a very accomplished, very smart person. But he was viewed as an attack dog because he kind of had this Trumpian way about him where he would go at people, and people liked that. And it's partly why he got picked. I probably called him an attack dog myself. That's what people were calling him. That's what he's known for. He's known for being confrontational. And you could tell during this debate, he was trying to soften that a little bit. He wore that little gay pink tie, which is fine, you know. But it's just, when has J.D. Vance ever worn a pink tie ever? It's fine. No one cares. But even that itself is probably field tested. It's probably poll tested, and they got a sample size that says, hey, pink. People would think that you're nicer if you just wear a pink tie. And so he's wearing a pink tie. And he didn't attack Tim Walz at any point. They were very nice to each other. He had moments when he could have jumped on him. He could have pounced. He could have got the big laugh line. He could have done these things. He's capable of doing them. And he chose not to. And that's okay. It works. I think there's not people running around who think that Tim Walz looked good in that debate. He did not look good in that debate. And J.D. Vance did a good job of what he's trying to do. Donald Trump, because of his abrasive style, because of his demeanor, some of his word choice, the way he talks about certain groups of people, he alienates voters. There are certain people who find Donald Trump unpalatable. They cannot imagine voting for him. J.D. Vance, his role is to defend Donald Trump, but also to give people a reason to vote for a Donald Trump ticket. And one of the ways that you can do that, you're not going to double down. You're not going to get more people to vote for Donald Trump by being another version of Donald Trump. You have to be different than Donald Trump. You have to appeal to different people, particularly women. Donald Trump doesn't do well with women. Kamala Harris does well with women. And so what J.D. Vance was trying to do there is soften his image. He was trying to appear nicer. He was trying to appear not like a Doug Emhoff, beta male. No one wants to be that guy, soy boy. But he really was trying to just appear like a different version of Donald Trump, one that's a little softer around the edge, a little nicer. Oh, Tim Walz, you're a very nice man, and what a smile. You look great. Your football coaching skills are probably unparalleled. It's, complimentary, but also direct in what he believes and where he believes Tim Walz is wrong. I think it's a brilliant political strategy to just appear nicer. And he could have been mean to Tim Walz. It would be very easy to do. The guy he got lost several times during that debate. It would have been easy to hit him with that Trump line. I don't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We're all lost. And so it would have been easy to hit him with that at certain points, especially when Tim Walz is caught lying again. It's wild to me how, if you have aspirations, let me give you advice right now to everyone out there who's listening. If you have aspirations to office, even if it's just local office, but especially if you start talking statewide office, national office, executive office. You want to be a senator. You want to be a congressman. You want to be the president of the United States. Let me give you a piece of advice. Stop lying about your biography. Stop it. It does not hold up in this age of the internet and Google. It does not hold up. You can't do it. It's bad. Tim Walz seems to lie about nonsense for no reason. He lied about his deployment to the Middle East. He lied about his rank in the military, which is a hard thing to do because everyone knows your rank. It's not like it's private information. He lied about that. He lied about... What's the other one I'm thinking of? Oh, there's another one, the big one. Well, but he was called in the debate for this lie. He said, hey, I was in China for the Tiananmen Square massacre, and he learned a lot about democracy. Okay, whatever. Well, he wasn't there. He wasn't in China when that happened. It's a lie. He's been to China 30 times, which is concerning in his own right, but he wasn't there. He said he was there. He wasn't there. And so they ask him about this during the debate. They say, hey, Governor Walz, what's up with this? You said you were in China during the Tiananmen Square massacre, but now it's been reported you weren't. What's up? And this is his response. I'm not kidding with you. If you didn't watch the debate, this was his response. Governor Walz, it appears you may have lied about being in China during Tiananmen Square. What's your explanation? Look, I was born a middle-class boy. I was such a knucklehead. I used to ride a bike till the streetlights came on. What are you talking about? What? His answer was, I was born a middle-class child, and I used to ride my bike till the streetlights came on. What are you talking about, Tim Walz? They asked you a very simple question. Hey, you appeared to lie about this. What's your explanation? And he didn't. He just went by. And this is actually so bad that they said, well, just to confirm here again, I asked you about this lie. What do you have to say? He said, I misspoke. Okay, you could have said that the first time. What was this answer? Who helped this man? Has he ever debated before? I imagine to be governor, you have to be in a debate at some point. What is this answer, and why did you think it was a good one? I don't understand what's going on. This man wants to be vice president of the United States. Governor Walz, could you tell us what your plans for the economy are? Well, I remember I used to like to play badminton as a kid. And what? Hold on. Stop. What is going on? Do you know what the question was? Did you hear me? You're a little older than your opponent here. Do we need to turn up your hearing aid? Because what is this answer? It makes no sense. There is an art to this in a debate. For example, you ask me a question. I don't want to answer the question. My real answer is going to be to answer the question I want to answer. You asked me about the economy. Maybe I want to talk about the economy. Maybe I want to talk about immigration. So I might say one word. Well, the economy's got problems, and a lot of it comes from Kamala Harris's border, open border, blah, 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 blah. I answer the question I want to answer during a debate. That's kind of the way it works. This is not that. He didn't answer any question. He just talked about nonsense and expected people not to notice. It was a terrible look, and then he lies about weird things. Why would you lie about this? You're trying to be vice president of the United States. Do you think no one is going to check what you say? Everyone is scrutinizing every word you say. It's a job I would never want. I would never want to be this person who has every word that you say scrutinized and analyzed and thrown back at you and out of context in some sort of gotcha moment. This sounds like a terrible job. But you want the job, Tim Walz. You want the job. Why are you lying? Why do you lie about nonsense? Why are you lying about going or deploying to Afghanistan? Why are you lying about where you were during the Tiananmen Square massacre? Why do you lie about this nonsense? Why did you, on your website, claim that you had a rank in the military that you never achieved? What is this? Why do we want these people who lie about nonsense as the people we're going to elect to high office? It just makes no sense. He looked like a clown. He looked like a clown during that debate, and he's basically a 50-50 shot at this point of being vice president of the United States. I think when you look online, everyone agrees. J.D. Vance won. It is very clear he won. Any clip that you see, he looks cool, he looks calm, he's knowledgeable, and Tim Walz is looking around with his wide eyes and his hangdog cartoonish expression like, I don't know what's going on, I'm just a knucklehead. Okay, whatever. Tim Walz lost. J.D. Vance agrees. Even the media has to agree with this, unless you're some outfits who are reporting that, hey, Tim Walz actually surprisingly did good. No, he didn't. It's a lie. He did terrible. I saw something pretty funny. I think it was NPR. NPR put out an article, says, we fact-checked the debate. When you read the article, they only did the things that J.D. Vance said. They did not ever talk about anything Tim Walz said and try and check it or double talk it or do whatever until you get to the last one. I can't even remember what it was, but it was something stupid. Tim Walz said something dumb, and he threw this last one in. So it was like 5-6 paragraphs of different topics and the things J.D. Vance said, and then fact-checking it, and then they give one throwaway to Walz at the end. Let's defund NPR. Why are we funding this? It's stupid. No government money to NPR. It's dumb. It's just a left-wing Democratic propaganda thing. There's no reason that we should be putting money towards it. It's important to remember, though, that it doesn't have to be this way. Politics doesn't have to be this way. I think that this vice presidential debate, if anything, it should be a reminder that politics can be better. There's no law that was passed that says we have to put terrible people in positions to be elected to the presidency. No one said that. So I know since 2016, it seemed that way because we had Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and now Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. We don't have to put terrible people up there. We can have people that we like. People liked Barack Obama. Barack Obama's capable. For whatever you want to say about Mitt Romney, Mitt Romney's very smart. I don't love Mitt Romney, but he's a smart person. We don't have to put people like Trump and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. We just don't have to do it. We could have people like J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is incredibly smart. Read his book. I've said this before. Read his book. If you come away from his book and say, well, he's not that smart, well, I don't know what you're talking about. You don't write as well as he does. It is a truism in life. You do not write clearly if you do not think clearly. It doesn't mean that people who write clearly are always right in their ideas. But what it means is their mind works a certain way. You could say this about Barack Obama. You don't write like Barack Obama if you are not a clear thinker. You just do not. You're incapable of doing it. It's not. Dumb people can't write that well. They just cannot do it. And so J.D. Vance, we could elect people like him to the presidency. We don't have to put these people up there with a room temperature IQ. It's not a real thing that we have to do. Kamala Harris has a room temperature IQ. If you manage to generate all the heat that her brain could put off, she couldn't heat up a cup of tea. She is not a bright person. She's dumb. She's a dumb person. It's unfortunate, but it is true. We could elect a very dumb person to be president of the United States, and we don't have to do that. There are people who are Democrats who are very smart. We just need to put them in a position where they could win. We did that. Kamala Harris is there for a reason no one seems to be able to fathom. She's not capable. She's not accomplished. She's not a very articulate or intelligent person. She just is there, and I don't know why. And I could be mean to Donald Trump. I could. I don't think Donald Trump is the smartest person of all time. I think he has a weird sort of instinctual presence that allows him to make good decisions, and he is good in the fact that he surrounds himself with very smart people. There are a lot of very smart people around Donald Trump who make good policy decisions for him. I'm fine with that. Kamala Harris hasn't demonstrated that to me. The people she surrounds herself with don't seem incredibly impressive, and they don't seem to make good decisions. So it makes me more nervous than a Donald Trump presidency. We could just elect people like J.D. Vance. We could do it. I don't have one off the top of my head, but I think about people like J.D. Vance and Ted Cruz. If we put people like that in positions to win elections, they would be great. Ted Cruz would be a really good president, but people just don't like him. Okay, whatever. What are you going to do? People want to vote for the reality TV star. People would vote, if The Rock Johnson ran for president, people would vote for him. I don't have anything against The Rock, but what the hell does he know about governing the country? I don't understand it. People would vote for him. People vote for Oprah. They think, oh, Oprah's great. No, Oprah's not great. She would not be a good president. I don't know why you believe this. Because she had a great TV show, because she's made a lot of money, it made her great. Donald Trump had a nice TV show, made a lot of money. You don't seem to like him or think he's a good president, but Oprah will do it better. Why? Why would she do it better? Do you remember how many stupid things Oprah had on her show? how many dumb people she platformed and did things with, Dr. Phil would be a better president than Oprah Winfrey. And my point is, we could put people in this position. We should start doing it. It's not going to happen this election. We got two choices: Donald Trump, Kamala Harris. What are you going to do? J.D. Vance hopefully has a long future in politics. He's only 40 years old, so we'll see where that goes. But it could be better, people. We can do better. Oh my God. I've talked for 29 minutes about this? What the hell? Have I been rambling? Crazy. I guess I'm going to go quicker through this second topic. We only got about 10 minutes before I got to get off. So I want to move on to topic 2 since I have talked about that one way too long. This is about the longshoreman strike. And I really just want to make one point here. It's a very complicated issue, but it's also very important. And if we're going to summarize it, basically tens of thousands of U.S. dock workers walked off the job this week. And it led to some clogging up of the ports. Now, they're already back to work under a provisional agreement. We'll get in with just a second. But I want to talk about this. So this is from the International Longshoremen's Association, the ILA. This is the first strike in 50 years. They represent somewhere between 50,000 and 80,000 dock workers. And basically, they're negotiating right now. Their contract's about up. They're negotiating for 2 reasons. They want higher wages, and they want basically a ban on automation. And this is a big deal, and it's a big deal for this reason. This union in particular is bad for America. And this is going to come across as weird. I'm not anti-union. If you want to join a union, you should have the right to join a union. You should have the right to collectively bargain as a people. It's fine. It's good. This was definitely needed during the Industrial Revolution when working conditions were improved dramatically for workers. Today, we have some worker protections in place. Union membership has dropped substantially. But this is an example right here of why unions are occasionally a bad thing. This union, which represents a majority of dock workers along the eastern seaboard, it has been bad for America because of a number one reason, or 2 reasons. One, they have kept labor prices exceptionally high. And worse than that, they have prevented American docks from automating. And this is a huge deal. American docks are terrible compared to the rest of the world. And the reason for that is because of this union. There's a thing. Tucker Carlson talked about this in his book, Ship of Fools, and Andrew Yang talked about this in his book that he wrote. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. What is that book called? I can't see it behind me. So Andrew Yang, when he ran for president, wrote this book talking about this. Automation is a big deal because what is going to happen, especially when AI jumps into the future, we are going to automate away a lot of the low-skilled jobs in our economy. We're going to automate away some high-skilled jobs too, but automation it's going to make the world better. But it also has a potential downside. And the potential downside is we cause unemployment to go up dramatically, which then wrecks the economy in a bunch of ways because you basically have this economy of high-income producers and low-income people who cannot find jobs because their jobs have been automated away. This is complicated, but basically I don't agree that automation is going to cause some sort of giant unemployment labor issue in America. I believe jobs are going to evolve, which is what will happen because we have had an increase in automation, but we have kept unemployment numbers relatively low, even as we've automated away some jobs. The big problem is going to be when we automate trucking. Trucking is, I believe, the number one employer of white males without a college or without a high school degree, maybe with a high school degree even. And when we automate trucking, we're gonna have a talk about this. But what these dock workers have done is they have prevented the automation of a large chunks of their jobs. And what's that mean? It means that things that you buy are more expensive because our ports are less effective. For example, I saw a chart yesterday that talked about how per every crane in the United States in our ports, what is the unit they measure? They measure in TEUs, I believe. So the amount of cargo basically moved per crane is what it comes down to. And the American cranes average 66 or 60,000 units moved per crane. In the rest of the world, in some of the higher end areas of the world, that number is double. It is 119,000 units moved per crane. And a lot of this is because of automation. Now, the union has fought tooth and nail to prevent the automation of ports because they're trying to protect those jobs. But it has made our ports some of the worst in the industrialized world, and it has prevented us from competing, and it makes the goods for you to buy from across seas more expensive. I know we think we have cheap goods. Imagine how it could be if our ports actually worked. The Henry Glover Jr. is the president of the local longshoreman union. He said, this is a quote, "Automation can be good, but they are using it to kill jobs. We don't want to implement anything that would take our jobs out." Okay. All right. U.S. ports are open fewer hours per week than any other ports in the world. In Asia, the average ship works 168 total hours per week, whereas ships are only worked for 112 hours per week at LA, for example. Terminal gates are only operate 88 hours per week in LA compared to 24/7 operations in Asia. So we're talking we don't work as much as other markets because we don't have automation, and we do it less effectively because we don't have automation, which causes our economy to lag behind other places. And imagine, if you think the American economy is good, how good it could be if we optimized our ports. Now you say, well, imagine that we lose, there's 80,000 people who work in the docks. Imagine that a lot of those people lose jobs. What are they going to do? They do low-skilled work. There are other things out there that require low-skill work. I understand driving a crane takes some skill. Don't get me wrong. I use the term low skill not to say it doesn't require any skill, but just to say that it's a job you can learn to do relatively easily. Operating a crane is not the same as brain surgery. That's all it means. I'm not saying being a plumber is easy. I'm not saying being an electrician is easy. Those are skilled work. But driving a crane, operating a forklift, those are low skills. Being an electrician or a plumber, those are more high skills. Being a neurosurgeon, obviously, top of the list. So you get what I'm saying. I'm not disparaging anyone for working at the docks. It's hard work. I wouldn't want to do it. It's labor intensive, and I understand that those guys work hard. This is not a shot against them, but protecting their jobs shouldn't come at the expense of the American economy. The dock workers, by the way, here we go. The current top wage amounts to $81,000 per year is what they say. But the Waterfront Commission of the New York Harbor reported that a third of longshoremen, so 33% of longshoremen, make more than $200,000 a year. Union dock workers make an average of $171,000 a year plus free health care. You have clerks who average $194,000 and foremen, or what they call walking bosses, $282,000 per year. Their paychecks, the paychecks of the people who work in the Longshoremen's Union, are outrageous compared to many white-collar people in the economy or other blue-collar workers in the economy. The ILA contract, it says you have a starting pay of $20 per hour. Then you get $24.75 after 2 years and $31.90 after 3 years, and you top out at $39 after 6 years. What they're asking for is a 61.5% raise over the next 6 years. And they're still negotiating. So they have this provisional agreement right now that has agreed to extend their contract through January of 2025. But it's important to know this. You are going to pay more because of this contract, because they are not allowing automation. If you own the ports, what you should do is you should just tell them to kick rocks. You say, okay, you can strike. The economy is going to be bad. We're going to lose money, and we're going to automate these ports, and we are only going to need to hire back a certain amount of you, and we're going to do it. And we don't need you because, again, this is low-skill work. You can hire people who will do this job. I guarantee you this, because you can raise the prices. You can raise the salaries of the people who keep those jobs if you start the automation process, because you are going to double the amount of cargo you move through the ports. So the wages can rise accordingly because you double the productivity. I'm sorry. I am not for negotiating with mafiosos. And look at this, the guy who runs, I think it's the ILA. That guy is as mobbed up as you could possibly be. I wonder if I can pull up a picture of him real quick. Hold on one second. Longshoreman union boss. Let's see if we can pull up that video real quick. I think this is the guy. Oh, yeah, this guy right here. When he... Hold on, let me just play this. Play this video. I think this is the video. I believe it is.
Are you worried that this strike is going to hurt the everyday American, the farmers that need to reach the export market?
Listen, now you start to realize who the longshoremen are, right? People never gave a shit about us until now, when they finally realized that the chain is being broke now. Cars won't come in. Food won't come in. Clothing won't come in. You know how many people depend on our jobs? Half the world. And it's time for them, and time for Washington to put so much pressure on them to take care of us, because we took care of them, and we're here 135 years and brought them where they are today, and they don't want to share. And I'm done.
Just one question. What will it take to get you back into negotiations? What do you want to hear?
Oh, here, you want to hear it? $5 across the board for 6 years. I want all my container royalty 50-50 split. It all comes back to the ILA where it used to be. What was the other one?
Absolutely no automation.
And automation, stronger language.
So that guy right there, I wish I could find the video. I'm sure it's on here somewhere. He had a video where he said, we'll cripple them, we'll do this. And I'm pretty sure that guy right there, if I remember, I don't want to just say this, but he was also, he was on trial for something. He was on trial for something linked to a murder. I can't remember what. All right, here we go. So he was in a racketeering case that he beat at trial that basically said that the witness who was going to testify against him wound up dead in the trunk. So he based, one of the co-defendants, a Genovese, I don't know who that is. Genovese family captain named Larry Ricci disappeared and was found dead in the trunk of a car at the Huck Finn Diner in Union, New Jersey. So this guy's like legitimately mobbed up, right? He's an actual mobster. We don't negotiate with them. We don't negotiate with mafiosa. We don't negotiate with terrorists. I would tell them to kick rocks. And if I'm them, I'd say we're going to automate away a lot of these jobs, and it would make the American economy better. I'm sorry. I'm not saying I'm anti-union. I'm not. But the union is now, it's not just that they're there to benefit the worker. They are trying to benefit the worker at the expense of the American people. The ports are different than the guys who worked at GM. Look at what the unions did to the car manufacturing industry in the United States. Is there a car manufacturing industry in the United States? No, because the unions basically bankrupted the car companies. Chrysler and GM and all these car companies, they had all these negotiations. They had strikes. They had to raise worker wages. And their cars, meanwhile, were not as profitable as they were while they were doing these negotiations. And basically what happened is these cushy union contracts they had to dole out eventually bankrupted the companies. And that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at a union that is holding the American people hostage. It's not just the ports. It's not just the companies. The American people pay more because of this union. And I'm all for unions negotiating and doing all these things, but at the same time, you're standing in the way of innovation. It's like the guys who used to change the horseshoes on the carriages being against the automobile, saying, we're not going to automate. We can't automate away the horses because I changed the horseshoes and you got to protect my job. No, screw your job. Sorry, your job is useless when we invent the car. Well, if we've invented a crane that can do what you do, or some sort of automated, I don't know, treadmill system. I don't really know how the ports work, I'm going to be honest. Some sort of automated treadmill system that moves containers, and we don't need you at the wheel of the crane, or we don't need as many operators driving the forklifts, whatever the case may be. That's just the way it is. And it's nothing against you. It's nothing against the people who work hard for a living. I'm sure they do. But you can't stand in the way of progress. It's just not the way to do it forward. You're not going to outlaw automated trucking because it employs people. It's a terrible idea. It's protectionism, and it's wrong. It just shouldn't be the way that the American economy works. Anyway, we're going to leave it there for the day. I talked more about the debate than I realized I was going to. I actually planned on talking about this second topic a lot more because it's a little more philosophical about automation and progress in the future. But we are going to leave it there for the day. As always, question, comments, concerns in the comments, people, so we can read them on the air. You know, if they're funny or mean or very complimentary. You know, my mom will leave something out there, I'm sure, that says something nice about me. Maybe I'll just read compliments from my mom on the air. Wouldn't that be nice? You can hear about her handsome son. And we're going to leave it there for the week. As always, I'm Tyler Chrestman. I'll catch you guys next Friday.